Good evening, and I guess it's time for ice at my house. Woohoo! Nah, but really, I just wanted to hop in really quickly and do a quick training on the new stimulus. Our messenger and our phones are going to be ringing with our clients wanting to know what is going on. So, the House approved a $900 billion stimulus. What does that mean for us as people? Well, as quickly as they can get it signed off by the president, the Treasury will begin trying to put together the money to send out the stimulus. So, realistically, stimulus won't flow till January at the earliest. How much is the stimulus? Right now, what's on the table and in the paperwork is $600 per person. Of course, double if that's a married couple. So a single person 600, a married couple 1200, and 600 per each eligible child. What is eligibility for children under 17? Nothing has really changed other than the amount from the first stimulus in that regard. Okay. The It will go out automatically, just like the last one did. I'm quite sure, even though they haven't announced yet, for non filers and those who didn't get the first stimulus, there'll be some type of way for them to register or apply for this one. They just haven't announced yet how. Okay. Um, yes, that's a lot less than the first one, but we have to understand that, for one, money doesn't grow on trees. And really, it's still unsure of where the money is even coming from that they're giving in the first place, if we just wanted to be real with ourselves. So at some point, we had to know, just like our budgets have taken a hit due to COVID, that the government's budget is probably a little off too, because there are a lot of other things that they still have to keep going. So we'll talk a little bit about this. Okay. The $600 per child is $100 more than last time, so that there's a little more relief for what you're spending when you have children. Okay. The payments will be lower for those who make 75,000 or more, and there will be no payment at all for those who make 99,000 or more. So if you're in that bracket, or if your customers are in that bracket, be honest and upfront with them so that they know, so they're not waiting and holding on with hopes of getting this stimulus. If you made $75,000 or more, it will be less than the stated amount. And if you made $99,000 or more, there will be no stimulus coming. Okay. For those who filed in 2019, that income amount is what they will be using to determine your stimulus eligibility. Again, they will be using the 2019 income from those returns to determine the eligibility, not 2020. Immigrants with no social security card, undocumented immigrants, will not get stimulus again this time around. But if the wife or the husband or the children have social security numbers, the individuals with the social security numbers will be eligible for the stimulus. Okay. Let's talk a little about unemployment benefits. Those who are jobless could receive $300 weekly federal enhancement for 11 weeks. 11 weeks, approximately 3 months. from the end of December through the 14th of March. End of December through the 14th of March. We want to pay attention to these dates because when they're done, they're done. Because a lot of people learned in July when they had gotten very comfy and cozy and used to the payments, and then they cut them off. And then some places extended them, and then other places didn't. If you are unemployed and you are getting unemployment, utilize that time to either one, start and create a business that's flowing income, or two, look for another job because these subsidies will not last forever. Uh, the pandemic unemployment assistance will expand to gig workers, self employed, independent contractors, freelancers, gig workers will all be able to take advantage of this pandemic unemployment assistance if they are impacted by coronavirus. Okay. The unemployment compensation program provides an additional 13 weeks of payments to those who have exhausted their regular state benefits. So remember, to get the federal, you have to apply for the state. You have to go through the proper channels. It's no, I'm going to skip this and go on to that, or I'm going to keep my job and apply for unemployment. All sounds good. Sounds like a hustle. Not going to happen. They're going to take you through the normal steps. Okay. Both programs, the pandemic emergency unemployment, excuse me, I thought I had to sneeze and then it didn't come, will close to new applicants on March 14th, 2021. Unless something changes in black and white right now, the terms that they are giving is it will close to new applicants on the 14th of March. Okay. The deal provides a federally funded $100 per week additional benefit to those who have at least $5,000 in annual self-employment income, but are disqualified from receiving pandemic unemployment assistance because they're eligible for regular state unemployment. So, if you're eligible for state unemployment, so they're saying they're not going to give you the 300, but you had $5,000 or more of self-employment income, they will give an additional $100 per week on top of the normal benefit. I know you're probably thinking this is a lot less than the middle of the year. Yeah, it is. But that's a sign that we should be in grind mode, team. Grind mode. Not lackadaisical, not waiting for a handout. It's time to get in your head to get up, get out, and get it. Get it. They will reopen PPP. So the Paycheck Protection Program will be back in effect. Okay. So the second loans will be limited to those with 300 or less employees. So big companies will not be able to take advantage of it this time. So that's the small and the medium-sized businesses. that have seen a drop of at least 25% of their revenue during the first, second, and third quarters of 2020. 25% drop. Okay. It will also reduce the amount a borrower can get. So it will drop from a cap of 10 million to a cap of 2 million. Okay. But there will be more spending flexibility. You don't have to just cover payroll and bills. They're going to give you a little wiggle room to cover some other things. We'll know later when the actual documents come out what exactly you'll be able to spend on, but it's saying that it will give more flexibility and it will be easier to get loan forgiveness for loans under $150,000. It has set aside $12 billion for minority owned businesses. And it also expands the eligibility to nonprofits, local newspapers, TV, and radio. There is a special grant set aside for theaters and live venues. $15 billion grant set aside for live venues, theaters, museums that have lost 25% or more of their revenue. This will help save some of those theaters that's really hanging on by the skin of their teeth, the museums, and the places that hold these big concerts and conferences. This will help keep them afloat, some of them. The initial grant can total up to $10 million per eligible business. A second grant worth half of the amount of the first may also be available. So as you see, they have $15 billion for those entities. They're willing to issue out 10. That's not bad. And then there would be an opportunity for a second grant of at least half of that. That money will be for specific expenses: payroll, rent, utilities, and PPP equipment. So where the small businesses really, they weren't so hard on this time, these entities, these live venues, these museums, and things of that nature have specified expenses that need to be covered with this money. During the first 14 days of program implementation, grants will be awarded to those who faced 90% revenue loss. Then those who experienced at least 70% revenue loss will be the next 2 weeks. After the first month of the program, other eligible businesses can apply for the grant. So to make sure that the people hit the worst and the hardest get the grants first, that is how they're going to divvy out the allowances. Make sure that you're paying attention and kind of know what's going on in these areas, so when your clients are calling you and asking you various questions, you can give them the best information available, not any guesswork. There will be funding available for schools and daycares. The bill will provide $82 billion in aid for K through 12, colleges, and an additional $10 billion for child care providers. Okay. Rental assistance will extend until January 31st. It will also provide $25 billion in rental assistance for those who lost their sources of income during the pandemic. So those who lost any way to make money, lost their job, lost their business, etc., will be able to apply for rental assistance. Nutrition assistance. This proposal would raise SNAP benefits by 15% for 6 months. but it would not expand eligibility. So it's not going to add other ways to be eligible. Either you're going to be eligible or you're not. But it will increase it by 15% for 6 months. So if you're eligible and you get food stamps, for 6 months they'll be increased by 15%. The bill will also expand the pandemic EBT program to families with children under 6 who receive food stamps, deeming them enrolled in child care and eligible benefits. It now provides money to low income families with school age kids in lieu of the free and reduced price meals they would receive if they had been in school. The deal will send $400 million to food banks and food pantries through the Emergency Food Assistance Program. This will help them to replenish and be able to cycle food back into the community, which is a good thing. It will also provide $175 million for nutrition services for seniors, Meals on Wheels, organizations of that type, and $13 million for the Commodity Supplement Program, which provides more than 700,000 older Americans monthly with food. There, of course, will be vaccine and hospital funding. They're providing $20 billion for the purchase of vaccines so that they can be available at no charge for people in need. There will be another $8 billion for vaccine distribution. It will give states $20 billion to assist in COVID testing. And it will be adding $3 billion to the $175 billion fund for hospitals and healthcare providers for reimbursement of healthcare related expenses. Payroll tax repayment. Now, this is a hot topic for us as tax preparers because a lot of us have been following this, and we know that those who took that payroll tax holiday were going to be due to pay this back in this next quarter. But it appears that now they will have until the end of 2021 to increase their employees' withholdings to pay back the taxes owed. They originally needed to be paid back by April 30th. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's just stop and talk about that for a second. So they put on the table a payroll tax holiday, which meant this quarter companies didn't have to take out the payroll tax so that the employee had more money. In turn, they didn't have to pay the payroll tax so that they also kept more money. Next quarter, originally it was supposed to be paid in April. So then the next quarter, January through April, the employees who didn't have taxes taken out would in turn pay out double taxes for their current taxes and the taxes that they missed. With this, they now have until the end of the year to spread out the taxes that they missed in this quarter over the year to get them paid back in. Now, how will that impact our clients? If normally, remember, this is a refund they're getting back. Well, what are they getting a refund of? They're getting a refund of the taxes that they paid in over the amount that they should have. So now this client hasn't had any taxes taken out for a quarter. However much these taxes would have put them over the amount they should have been at won't be available to be refunded because they didn't take them out. So where they may have had over the year $1,500 in federal income tax that came out, But after doing their taxes, because of their poverty level or the number of children, et cetera, they only owed, we'll say 500. So that other thousand would have been refundable in addition to whatever earned income credit they would have had. That $1,000 won't be there to add. So we want to mentally be prepared for, why is my refund lower than it was last year? Blah, and all the questions that will come with it. We won't be able to get frustrated. Well, we could, but it wouldn't be good customer service for us to be frustrated with questions that we didn't prepare ourselves for. So we have to know what we're looking at on these W-2s, and we have to know the appropriate questions. Okay, I'm looking at your W-2 from last year compared to this year. What it looks like is that your company took advantage of the payroll tax holiday. Did you notice on your check stubs that they weren't taking out any taxes? Ding! I looked. I didn't see where they took out taxes. That's why your refund is lower, because you didn't pay in as much. We want to make sure that we are paying attention and that we have an answer for questions that we know will come. This training has been a little longer than most. One, because I had a sneeze caught that I thought was coming and didn't. It took a second. But second, because it was a little more information for us to cover. But we need to be prepared, even if we need to do some role plays, to be able to pleasantly and intelligently answer these questions that will come so that we can answer them. Because this is going to be a very different tax season. I don't say this to discourage you. We're going to win. That's all we do. We win. But keep in mind, the tax holiday will definitely have an impact on the refunds. The unemployment, especially if they didn't take out taxes, will have an impact on the refund. Unemployment is taxable. So if they didn't take it out while they were getting it, the IRS is going to expect the taxes off of it. We want to make sure that we are very, very balanced in these things. In our next training, we'll talk about how PPP may or may not impact our clients' taxes. As always, y'all have a great evening.